Hello, welcome back. I have returned as promised. Thank you to everybody who found me and watched my videos, subscribed, left such sweet comments on my first video. I had no idea how the algorithm was going to treat the video, where it was going to be pushed or how. And so it was a really pleasant, sweet surprise to find so many of you. It's very exciting for me. And a lot of people mentioned that they were also wanting to start channels of their own, or it was sort of like a project that they'd always hoped for as well. And hey, if I can do anything, I hope this is encouragement for you to try as well. Because like I said, it's been like a decade of drawing for me, and I'm only just now managing to push myself to start and try. And now that it's out there, like the first video is finally out there and it's alive and it feels real, it's very exciting to just keep the momentum going. Even if I don't know all the little tricks and ins and outs of editing yet, I have a kind of basic knowledge because I've always enjoyed watching speed paints, so even in the past, I would record myself drawing. And somewhere floating out there, there are really old speed paints. They might actually all be private now, but they're somewhere. So like, I kind of know my way around editing programs, but not very much. So that's definitely something that I'm excited to work on and make things even prettier. I had ideas in my head of how I wanted the layout to look like, and I wanted to have like little sprites of myself or something to talk as I talk. But then I got into the actual editing, and first of all, the last week I was kind of floundering because I didn't know what I was doing, and so I put it off really late, and I think I didn't finish editing until the day that I intended to post it. So we'll see if this gets me anywhere faster. But yeah, if anybody else has been thinking about wanting to also start a channel, I heavily encourage it. I mean, if you don't start now, nothing will happen. But if you do start, then who knows what kind of possibilities will crop up, right? But anyway, enough of my rambling. Thank you for listening and being here and all the beautifully lovely things that you left me on the last video. And let's get into what I'm actually doing for the video. So I decided that I had to draw, embarrassingly for the first time, one of my favorite shows of all time, which is Link Click. It is a Chinese donghua, I believe it's called, which is basically the name for like a Chinese anime, I guess, if you really want to condense it down. It's a Chinese animated TV show. There we go. That's more accurate. I don't know how to sing its praises enough, but I'll try. If you've never heard of it, it's basically a show where the two main characters, these two boys that I'm drawing, run I guess it's like a photo shop where you where you develop photos and stuff. But they also kind of have like a side project going on where people will come to them and they will sort of help fix things in the past for them. It's very ambiguous. Not even the customers really understand it, and half the time it isn't actually a customer that's popping in. But the thing that they keep secret about that whole side project business is one of them can see into the past of a picture for a certain amount of time within when that picture was taken, and the other one can actually physically go into the picture for that same amount of time, roughly. And so it's got a little bit of time travel elements to it. I don't know if any of you love it, hate it, when in regards to time travel. I'm very adamantly someone who despises time travel just because it gives me so much anxiety to watch people go back to the past and then like mess things up. And I'm watching them and I'm like, why would you do that? You know it's gonna have consequences. But for some reason, this show is still probably my top favorite of all time. And I would attribute that to the fact that the writing is incredible. It's got 2.5 seasons out now. I haven't finished the most recent one, but I don't know if they're qualifying the third one as an actual season or as like a prequel sort of sneak peek thing. But whoever is writing for this team is astounding, and hats off to you, whoever you are. Also, real quick, just to interrupt myself, I've started the lining in the video, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but I feel like every single time I go to start lining a piece, I have to try like minimum 2 different line brushes, could be more. And I'm not even sure what I'm looking for. It's just kind of like the vibe, not even the vibe for the piece, the vibe for how I want to feel when I'm lining, when my lines are going swoopy. So this time I decided to stick with the same brush that I used last time, which was the cheap fine liner, just because it felt nice and I really like how it felt textured and kind of sketchy, but still like a good line. Anyway, back to Link Click. I was talking about how good the show is. The mysteries that are introduced have me on the edge of my seat the whole time. And then when they released season 2, it just kept going. Like it was so well integrated into what they introduced in the first season. Also, the art is really, really pretty. And I love listening to it in the actual original voice actors. They released a Japanese dub. I don't love it, but I'm probably biased because I started watching it in Mandarin in the first place. It's got banger openings and endings. It's just one of the best mysteries with plot and characters that I love that I've seen personally. It's kind of like the mystery that I crave, plus magic. Those of you who have also watched Link Click, please chime in in the comments and point out things that I've missed or like add on to what I said, because I feel like I don't see nearly enough people watching this show anywhere in any fandom spaces, and I simply want to see more art and more people talking about it so I can also talk about it. Now, about the actual drawing, again, I really want to get better at character interactions because I barely draw them as it is, and it's frustrating when I think of so many things that I want to draw multiple characters in, and then I get to it and I'm like, why is it so hard? Why doesn't it feel natural? Why do they feel so stiff? So I drew one today because I need practice at it. The scene that I decided on was just something random that I came up with. It's Chang Xiaoxi on the left. Well, okay. The one with the teeny little ponytail, and he's like resting his shoulder on the other one. He is incessantly bugging Lu Guang on the right, either for just pure plain old attention or because he wants to get started on their latest project, or he wants to see what Lu Guang is looking at in the photo, something like that. Later on you'll see that Lu Guang does have his powers activated, so he is looking into the photo because his eyes are normally like a light gray, but when he's looking into photos, they turn a beautiful ice blue, and it's so pretty. And to be honest, I changed them to the blue because I simply wanted to draw the blue, not because I thought he needed to be looking into a picture. I do love it when artists craft a whole scene with a story, and every detail of the illustration is on purpose, and everything from the pose to the details in the foreground to the colors that they chose to the expression on the character's face, if you can even see the face, everything is placed so perfectly because it's a specific story that you want to tell. But that's usually not it for me. Usually my scenes are because I want to, because I think it looks nice, and that's it. Like even the clothes that they're wearing, I'm pretty sure they only wear them in season 3 or whatever the prequel season counts as, but I stole them because I think they look nicer. Also, Chengyashi is my favorite character, I think. I think about this from time to time as I watch the show because honestly, I love everyone almost equally, and that's really rare for me. I tend to have a hatred for at least someone in the main cast, and that someone is usually the main character, which sucks. But Chengyoshi is kind of the main character, I guess. I don't know if he really is or if he's just one of them. But he is my favorite little boy. He's very special to me. He makes me cry, both in season 1 and 2. Again, I haven't finished the third one, so he has time yet to make me sob. I think I'm halfway through it, but there's only 6 episodes, and I keep wanting to wait so that I can binge the whole rest of the season, and then I just keep putting it off because there's other things that I want to do, but it's fine. We've finally reached the coloring stage, which is actually my favorite, and it's simply because it's so therapeutic for me. I really enjoy just going brain empty and filling in the lines. That is truly my favorite part of any digital drawing. I definitely could have used like a bucket tool or the lasso tool to quickly fill in the spaces, but it's just not as fun for me, and the point of art is to have fun. So if I want to painstakingly go around the edges of the figures that I want to color in and do it by hand, then that is what I should be doing. Also, it makes me happier to draw in the outline myself by hand, because if you use, like, for example, the lasso tool, then the edge that's colored in has a little bit harsher of pixels if you use like a softer brush, for example. And when you have lines that are textured or not full opacity, sometimes you can really notice that the lines and the colors aren't one-to-one, versus if you had like a thick black line. If I ever draw lines that are fully black and thick, then I am more likely to use the bucket tool or just fill it in like that. But sometimes I still color it in by hand anyway, because I just enjoy it so much. Also, my method for putting in the actual colors, like the skin and the hair and all of that, is probably more extensive than it really needs to be, because I use a lot of layers. I use one base layer for each section of the character. For example, I have one base layer for the skin, and then clipped to that, I will have anything that goes directly on the skin, such as the blush, and the lips, and the nails, etc. And then I'll have another one for just the hair, another one for just the eyes, each individual piece of clothing. So the layers kind of go up there in number pretty quick. But when I'm doing a piece like this, especially where I'm not directly color picking off of a reference, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it, then it really helps to have every single color possible separated, because I know that I will want to change the colors slightly. And it sounds like a nightmare if I had to do it manually, like color over everything. By the way, I absolutely do regret not finding some appropriate references for this, but that's me every single time at this point. The ratio of me finding references for a piece versus just winging it is not good. I definitely tend to just try and go in with my brain. My brain doesn't have muscle memory for all of the body parts yet, so when I was trying to do the hand that Cheng Xiaoxi is leaning on, and the one that Lu Guang has holding up to like stop him, even the one that Lu Guang is holding the picture with, could have really used references for all of those hands. Really would have been a lifesaver. So learn from my mistakes. References are always your friend. I'm sure if you listen to other artists talk about like how do you get better, one of their tips is always you need references. And they're right. They're so right, and I know they are because I'm also talking about it. But I will also admit that sometimes it can be hard to know where to look for finding references. Like it is such a specific hand pose that I needed, and at that exact angle. So probably the best course of action for me would have been to just take a picture of my own hand, but I was busy drawing. Lately I've been experimenting with a different sort of shading style than what is in this piece. This is kind of my default, which is where I just take like a light purple and then I put it on a layer by itself over top of the whole piece, and I put that layer on the blending mode multiply. So it kind of acts as a darker color for every single color that's underneath it, and it tints all of the colors to be like purple, like I chose. But lately I've really been wanting to figure out how a lot of artists do their shading just by picking colors from the color wheel. Especially a lot of painters, like digital artist painters that I've seen, which is not at all something that I have gravitated towards. I like my lines. I like having defined spots and not having to go over a piece to clean it up. But I also really like how they shade and render, and I feel like I need to unlock it somehow. So I've been trying to figure out how to do that, but for this one I just kind of didn't bother. I did do more layers for the shading than I normally do though, which is kind of reminiscent to what I've been experimenting with on other pieces. So I have the main shading layer, and then I added a lighter color, sort of making like a rim of an in-between color for the base colors and the main shading. And then I also added a darker shade on top of everything else. And that way it kind of gives more dimension to the whole piece instead of just being one single flat shade. And then of course I also added my lighting, which I still have yet to figure out how to properly light light colors, such as white hair. So it will continue to be the bane of my existence. And I also, from the beginning, when I was sketching the piece originally, I didn't have a background planned out whatsoever. Just these two interacting. So by the time that I got to the shading, it was really lucky that I managed to think up what was going to be in the background so that I had a light source. Because if I didn't have a light source and I got to the shading and the lighting, it was probably going to look really weird once I put the background in. We are slowly creeping towards the end of the video and the final piece. So I wanted to thank you again, everyone who watched this far, who left a comment on my last video, who has already left a comment on this one. Really looking forward to being back with more. I do have a lot of ideas, but if anybody wants to see something that isn't just me drawing like a particular piece, then feel free to let me know. There has been, as I'm recording the last quarter of this video, there's been like construction of some sort going on in the background on my building, and it's icy out in the parking lot, so I can hear someone scraping away at the ice, or maybe that's on their car. I'm not sure. There's been noises in the background, and I hope you can't hear any of them. I tried to work around them as best I could. If you have seen Link Click, please drop a comment and let me know your thoughts on it, because I love this show and I need to find more people who like it as well, or just have plain watched it. You don't have to like it, I guess. If you haven't seen it, Let me know if you have any other really good mystery shows hiding in your pockets. I will be back in 2 weeks with some art of my newest D&D character because I have not stopped thinking about him for the past 2 weeks, at least, and it's not even the one that I drew in my Meet the Artist video. He's just a new guy, and he will not be stopped. I hope you have a very lovely day, and I'll see you next time.